Today we cap what has been the best week of summer weather in recent memory here in Chicago. The Cubs hosting the Cardinals in the rubber match. It's the Hyundai leadoff man on WGN Sports. Great to have you with us. Jim Deshaies, Len Casper. The Cubs shut out again yesterday, fifth time in their last 7 home games. But the big topic of conversation, the play in the fifth inning yesterday, Starlin Castro on an infield fly put his head down. The Cubs allowed a run to score, and he got pulled from the lineup.
Yeah, the shortstop position, one that demands constant awareness, and it's been a problem for Castro throughout his career. It was again yesterday, and Dale Swaim, none too happy about it, removes Castro. We'll take a look at the play. A little shallow pop into left field. Castro and Lake in pursuit. Castro calls after the catch, drops the head. John Jay, the runner at third base, realizes that Castro's kind of out of it, takes off and steals a run for the Cardinals. So obviously a big mental mistake by Starlin Castro, and he was removed from the ballgame.
That made it 2-0 St. Louis. They would win the game 4-0. Starlin is back in the lineup today, however. Let's hear from his manager, Dale Swaim.
You know, the way I look at it is obviously he, had enough punishment and, a game, whether if that's the right word or not, punishment. But I think to be embarrassed and be on national TV and obviously what's probably written in the paper today and all that, I think that's plenty enough. But I mean, it's not, these kind of things obviously, happen from time to time. They're getting less and less, and we can't. I don't think this kid can get better by not playing today and understanding the adversities that we all go through in the game. Obviously we all know his struggles at the plate this year as well, and it's gonna sometime. If things continue, it's going to be a year, obviously, you look back on, you want to get rid of. It's a fist fight. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy, as well as him. I'm not going to, put words in his mouth, but, there's nobody that wants to do those things. I don't care who you are. You don't want to do that in front of, 3 million people watching on TV and 40,000 people in the stands either. So, for whatever reason, you have to deal with it, but you have to get to another level, too.
We'll take one more look at the play. Clearly this is on Starlin Castro as he ducks his head after catching the ball, but look where Junior Lake is positioned. Ideally, you'd prefer your left fielder come in and call off Castro and make that play, because if the left fielder who's moving towards the infield catches that ball, there's no chance that they're going to send the runner from third there. So 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 2 really critical mental mistakes in that one play.
And the irony is, yesterday for Starlin, his 25th consecutive errorless game. That is a new career high. As we go to break, let's check out our Hyundai Dealers Spotlight. The leadoff man is brought to you by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers, who invite you to come test drive the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. Visit myhyundaichicago.com. invite you to come test drive the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. Visit myhyundaichicago.com. It is Stats Sunday. Today, the benefits of being a patient hitter. And pinning our blog post at WGNTV.com, our good friend from 670 The Score, Matt Spiegel, also writes a Sunday column for the Daily Herald. The topic, pitches per plate appearance. Major League average is right around 3.8 or so. And you see the American League and National League leaders. Starlin Castro among Cubs qualifiers leading, although David DeJesus and Luis Valbuena both over 4, just not enough appearances to qualify. More to come. Indiana Hyundai dealers who invite you to come test drive the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. Visit myhyundaichicago.com. Excellent pitching matchup today. We'll get more into it with JD here in a couple of minutes, but Edwin Jackson facing the Cardinals for the second consecutive start. He matched up last weekend, got a no decision in St. Louis on Sunday. Adam Wainwright has never lost to the Cubs in this ballpark, 5-0 lifetime, but he has not beaten them here since 2010. Cardinals and Cubs on a gorgeous day from Wrigley Field. Coming up next. Mama, please don't take my Kodachrome away. It is a picture-perfect day here in Chicago once again as we get you set for Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. The Cardinals and Cubs in the rubber game, and we welcome Cub fans from all over the country watching on WGN America, America's home for baseball. Hope your weekend is going well. Jim DeShays, Len Casper. The Cubs have struggled a lot. We know that against the National League Central, but they've held their own against the Cardinals.
Indeed, they have. They took 2 out of 3 from St. Louis last weekend, looking to do the same here in Chicago this weekend. Here's how it breaks down. 19-36 against the Central, have held their own against the Cardinals, and Pirates still can't figure out a way to beat the Cincinnati Reds.
Edwin Jackson will go for the Cubs. A big theme early on was his struggles in this ballpark, but he's really turned that around. That
was the case for Edwin as a visiting player. It was the case for him early this year, but lately at Wrigley Field, how about these numbers? 4-0 in his last 4 starts with an ERA below 1.
And one of the best is Adam Wainwright. He's had a lot of success here, but the Cubs have had some success against him lately.
Yeah, last time he pitched in this ballpark, a no decision, but the Cubs got to him for 4 runs in 6 innings of work. He is yet to lose here at Wrigley Field.
24 walks in 25 starts for Wainwright. Now, God Bless America and our national anthem.
As they honor our nation with God Bless America, followed by our national anthem.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains, to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet. Oh, say,
by Budweiser. A reminder from Budweiser, great times are waiting, designated driver. Honda. Visit your local Honda dealer or go to shophonda.com for current offers. And by AT&T. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible. Chicago Cubs baseball in high definition on WGN TV is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Today's game is available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting, provided by WRTO La Tremenda, Chicago's Spanish language sports leader.
Found Dale Swaim's comments on Starlin Castro to be pretty interesting today. And we'll get more into it later, but I agree with the decision to get him right back in the lineup. Certainly an embarrassment yesterday, having to be removed from a ball game on national television, no less. And Dale kind of ended the conversation today on a positive note about how important Starlin is to this organization.
And there's no value whatsoever in sitting him again today. The message has been delivered. You continue to deliver the message. But, sitting him out today wasn't going to make any real significant difference. It's like raising a kid, right? You got to discipline your child, then you got to lift your child back up, and that's where the Cubs are right now with Starlin Castro.
Let's hear from Dale earlier today.
This guy is, a good player that we have to have, play well when we are ready to win a championship. He's got to be there. He's here under contract, and, we know it's all there, and we got to get it out of him. But the bottom line is, like I said, it gets to this point where you have to do it yourself as a player. You're turning into a young man that's been here 4 years, and there comes a time where we all, as players and men, have to do things ourselves.
So just got to keep playing him. Hopefully, he learns from his mistakes, and he knows the spotlight is pretty bright on him right now, but we'll get right back out there this afternoon behind Edwin Jackson. The Cubs now taking the field. And let's look at the St. Louis Cardinal starting lineup. Jackson will face the Cardinals in this series 7 out of 59. They were shut out by Jake Arrieta and company on Friday, so hitting 119 so far this weekend. Carpenter will lead it off. Beltran in right. Holiday in left. Alan Craig, the first baseman, cleans up 0 for his last 14. Molina hit a 2-run homer yesterday and has killed the Cubs all year. Jay in center. The rookie Colton Wong still looking for his first major league hit. Daniel Descalzo gets the start at short, and the pitcher Wainwright will hit ninth.
Cubs defense is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. We'll start in the outfield. DeJesus and Lake, they've been flip-flopping between left and center. Sherholtz is in right. Murphy, Castro, Barney, Rizzo around the infield, and behind the plate is Wellington Castillo. For Edwin Jackson, he's 7-12 with a 5.05 ERA. This is his 24th start. His last one coming a week ago against the Cardinals in St. Louis, a no decision. A game in which the Cubs lost 8-4. He worked 5 innings, allowed 6 hits, 4 runs.
Phil Cuzzi, the home plate umpire today. He's from New Jersey. Chris Scuccioni at first, Ron Culpa at second, and the crew chief Tom Hallion at third. And we've got to keep an eye on this developing situation out there in the bleachers.
No, there's a gap now that's been driven between these two. Not going to make eye contact. Some parental unit probably stepped in and said, hey, knock it off, you guys.
So here's Matt Carpenter to start it. And our Stats Sunday feature today, pitches per plate appearance. And we like that because it helps us avoid popping our P's. And you see Carpenter above average. Essentially, most good hitters see a lot of pitches. There are exceptions, including a couple of guys in the Cardinal lineup today. as Edwin Jackson's ready to work, and his first pitch is a fastball at 92 for a strike. And we can also look at pitchers and their pitches per batter faced, which is the equivalent of per plate appearance, and both Edwin Jackson and Adam Wainwright are in the top 25 in the majors in terms of fewest pitches per batter faced. 0-2 the count on Carpenter. Fouled out of play, still 0-2. This gives you context. That's the average in baseball. Get that extra couple of notches on the American League total because no DH rather, no pitcher hitting.
Yeah, generally you can dispose of the opposing pitcher a little more efficiently than you can an everyday player. Not always the case. Value, of course, for a guy who sees a lot of pitches like Carpenter, just to work the count.
Make sure you check out Len and JD's baseball blog, WGNTV.com. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 34 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Matt Spiegel from The Score wrote, conceived of our blog piece. You can check him out. Mornings 9-1 on 670 The Score. Also writes a Daily Herald column. Guys who walk a lot, guys who strike out a lot will be among the leaders in pitches per plate appearance. Swing and a miss by Beltran. He pointed out the Yankees and Red Sox have been in the top 3 each of the last 3 years in that category. And their games are usually a lot longer because of it.
Yeah, that's why they play 4-hour ball games. Yeah, it's not necessarily entertaining. There's value in it from a baseball standpoint. The guys having good disciplined approaches.
Foul tip. 1-2. Beltran on Friday had the Cardinals' only 2 hits. Yesterday had the game-winning RBI double in the 4th.
Sweetheart of a changeup right there from Edwin Jackson.
In the dirt on 95. He has his good velocity right off the bat here today.
95-mile-an-hour scud out in front of home plate. You're not going to get hurt down there.
Joe Pausbach's on top of the scoreboard today with some good angles of not only the ballpark but the entire city for that matter. Castro with an early chance, throws to first in plenty of time.
There's a look from high atop the scoreboard here. Castro gobbling up that ground ball from Beltran. 2 quick outs for Edwin Jackson. Hey, maybe we'll get some shots of the air show. Joe's nodding. Yeah, he's all over it.
There's Matt Holliday, 0 for 7 in the series. Came into the series with a 12-game hitting streak, but that ended on Friday.
Edwin's 1-1-1 against the Cardinals this year in 3 starts. A win, a loss, and a no decision. His last start against them here was a dandy. 7 shutout innings. Part of that real good stretch here at Wrigley Field we talked about in the open.
A fly to right, Nate Scherholtz with a pretty routine play, and Jackson goes 1-2-3 efficiently in the first. Let's go places. The good, Friday, 7 runs on 9 hits and 6 walks. The bad, shutout yesterday for the 5th time in their last 7 at home. The Jesus Lake Rizzo up top, Sherholtz, Castillo, Murphy in the middle, Castro, Barney, Jackson at the bottom.
Cardinals defensively, Holiday, J. Beltran cover left, center, and right. Infield of Carpenter, Descalso, the rookie Wong, Alan Craig, and behind the plate, Yadier Molina. On the bump, Adam Wainwright, 13-7. Those 13 wins tied for second best in the National League. His 2.71 ERA, 5th best in the NL.
12 days from his 32nd birthday, and a strike on a sinker to David DeJesus.
Keeps the ball in the ballpark. He's allowed just 10 home runs, and that 6.75 strikeout to walk ratio is the best in Major League Baseball. Just 24 walks. Crazy good in that department.
He's on pace for a career high in innings pitched. Part of the reason the Cardinals pushed him back last time around when he missed the Cubs and faced the Pirates instead. Jesus always works a pretty deep count, especially to start the ball game, down 0-2 here. Called strike 3 on the curve. That's a really good pitch for Wainwright.
Backdoor breaking ball to finish off DeJesus. Was it good enough? Well, corners caught initially. This pitch off the outside edge, but Molina centering that ball just off the outside edge, and Wainwright's got his first strikeout of the afternoon.
Junior Lake swings and misses.
That little cut fastball right there has become a go-to pitch for Wainwright. When he first came into the league, he was sinkers, sliders, really good curveball and a changeup. Now he's implementing that cut fastball more and more.
Lake could not pull the bat back on the curve. He's
among the
terrific.
Best in the game,
Yep.
Yeah, since he became an everyday starter or a regular member of the rotation.
Slowly hit to the shortstop, Descalso, and he just can't get rid of it quickly enough. Lake will have an infield single.
Right off the end of the bat, a little rollover gives him a nice break out of the box. Descalso, a little double clutch, and never did get the handle. Infield knock for Junior Lake.
It'll bring up Anthony Rizzo. Love to get that batting average up. He bounces to first. Craig's going to fire to second. 3-6-3 on the inning ending. Double play. 0-0 after 1.
Along with Dale Swaim, log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while you're watching from home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio sets, play sets, hot tubs, and more.
Air and Water Show here this weekend. Great weather for it. As Alan Craig will lead off the Cardinals second, and he takes a slow curve for a strike.
Something that Jackson's been doing a little bit more in recent starts. Looking at a little get over curveball early.
Craig late that time on the fastball.
Just 3 batters and 2 pitches into this start for Edwin Jackson, but this stuff looks really good here today.
Winds and fires low and outside, 1-2. Craig 0 for his last 14. And a couple of huge games against the Cubs this year. One here at Wrigley on July 14th, 4 for 5, and then a week ago today in St. Louis, 3 for 3 with 2 walks. I think he went. He did. Chris Guccione made the call. Second strikeout for Jackson.
Low heater. Craig not able to check his swing. We've got Carpenter, now Craig. And there we go. Had a chance to check out some of this yesterday. A sea of humanity down along the beachfront.
Molina over the top of a breaking ball. 2 hits yesterday, a homer, a double, and 2 knocked in. Came off the DL Thursday, did not get the start on Friday. And he's a little bit of an exception. He is an elite hitter, especially for his position, and does not see a ton of pitches. Doesn't walk a lot, doesn't strike out a lot. He's a contact guy, and there's more contact. De Jesus chases it down, and Molina, dealing with a bad knee, jogs into second.
Yeah, you'll see there are a number of high average hitters in the game who don't see a lot of pitches. Molina is one of them. Jose Altuve, you see him on the list. He goes up there ready to hack Parra. Typically hits for a high average. Of course, the downside is if you're not a guy who sees a lot of pitches and you're not hitting for a high average, not drawing walks, then that on-base percentage is going to be much lower than you want it to be. Another guy that comes to mind is the Panda. Sandoval.
Pablo Sandoval, yeah.
He's up there hacking.
Molina has never struck out more than 55 times. He's never walked more than 50 times. So a 1-out double sets it up for John Jay, and he takes a fastball inside.
And again, typically the guys who see a lot of pitches are either little guys who are looking to work walks, or sluggers who, because they are so dangerous, pitchers are trying to pitch around them, trying to nibble at the corners, and if they're patient, they're going to work a lot of deep counts. Those types of hitters, typically see a lot of pitches. They tend to strike out a lot, and they walk a lot as well. But guys like Molina who attack early, they're really never putting themselves in that vulnerable position.
Well, they definitely missed him. They went 6-8 while he was away on the disabled list. String of 3 lefties here. 6, 7, and 8. Jay, Wong, Descalzo for the Cardinals. That's That's a fair ball. Jay goes to the off field for a double. Molina will score, and it's 1-0 Cardinals. Came in at 3:30 with runners in scoring position as a team, and they're 1 for 1 today.
They're trying to throw a cutter in on his hands, and the ball leaks back over the plate a little bit. It still looked like it got in on him. I don't think he was really trying to go the other way. Bit of good fortune there for Jay, but the Cardinals draw first blood, and there's that crazy stat. 3:30 with runners in scoring position.
The rookie Wong made his debut on Friday, 0 for 4. As a big league hitter, hitting over 300 in the minors before he came up.
Good speed, showed occasional power in the minor leagues.
It's pretty interesting. You know, David Freese got off to a slow start. He's been pretty good since. Can't say he's been terrible, but yet John Mozeliak, the general manager, said, you know, it's my job to give this roster every advantage possible, and they decide to bring up this left-handed hitter, which will take time from Freese against righties. Don't know if it'll be a straight platoon where Carpenter will play third, Wong at second, and then against lefties, Freese at third, Carpenter at second. If they're going to give the kid a chance, and you don't bring him up if he's not going to play much, not at this point of the season. Plate appearances for young top prospects are always at a premium. So when you bring up a kid who's 22 years old, you got to make sure he plays. It's one thing after the minor league season ends and you just want him to get a 3-week taste of the big leagues, but it's only August 18th.
Yeah, this is a scenario where they're in a pennant race and they want to see if this kid can bring some value and make them a better club.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Here's the pitch. Roll over grounder right to Chris Maloney, the first base coach. We'd love to hear from you via email, LennonJD@Tribune.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter. You can reach us there as well. Another 2-2, and it's low and it's full. Jackson works with a pretty quick pace with nobody on base, but really slows it down, especially with runners in scoring position as he spins and keeps an eye on Jay.
Yeah, and you wonder if that's not detrimental. You know, we've seen it at times this year where innings will really blow up on him, going along nicely, and give up a hit or a walk, and it just kind of mushrooms. I wonder if sometimes that's a byproduct of slowing the tempo down, kind of getting out of rhythm a little bit.
Edwin, a former Cardinal. Always a fairly decent chance when he pitches that he's facing a former team or a former teammate or two. He has been well traveled. Pulled foul. All of a sudden Wong starting to get some better swings. That's the other thing about deep counts. How about the Molina at bat yesterday? He got into the low teens before doubling off Travis Wood. Just a great at bat. check that. It was the line out in the second inning. It was a long at bat. That ball hit very well. Junior Lake going back on it. He dropped it. Maybe lost it in the sun. Jay will be held at third. Wong pulls up at second. It is an error on Junior Lake.
Looked to me like he had time to get under this ball a little bit better than he did. He kind of drifts and tries to play it off to the side as opposed to getting all the way back there and turning behind the ball. And clearly a day where the sun could be an issue, but also certainly a play that needed to be made. That's an E8 and a big opportunity now for the Cardinals to extend their lead.
And it's Daniel Descalzo, the 8-hitter, with Wainwright on deck. They will intentionally walk Descalzo and pitch to Wainwright instead.
Hoping to get a double play and get out of Dodge. Certainly some risk in this. Anytime you put a base runner on, there's a chance for a bigger inning. But I think because Wainwright is the opposing pitcher and he's been so tough, you're doing everything you can to prevent the Cardinals from scoring one more run in this inning, giving yourself a chance to get out of here and just giving up the one. Wainwright does handle the bat well.
Wainwright is no slouch. He's a 196 hitter with 6 career home runs. Always have the option of a bunt here if you stay out of a double play and make sure the throw doesn't go home. You can steal a run. We'll see how the Cardinals decide to play it. Rizzo and Murphy, the cornermen, right at the edge of the grass. Swinging away and into left. DeJesus went back, now comes in. Jay ready to tag. He's going to hold. So Jay, who had that terrific heads-up play yesterday on the pop out to Starlin Castro, just could not test the arm of DeJesus. It wasn't deep enough. Big second out.
Now, especially when you got a hitter with the resume of Matt Carpenter stepping into the batter's box. Here comes the National League doubles leader into the box. He's driven in 59 primarily as a leadoff hitter this year. He also has 9 home runs. That's the other downside of the Descalzo walk. You have to get 2 outs in the inning. If you don't get the double play from Wainwright, you're dealing with Wainwright Carpenter versus Descalzo, or Wainwright Carpenter versus Descalzo Wainwright.
Well, if you're 330 with runners in scoring position, I would imagine you're pretty good with the bases loaded, and that is definitely the case. 350 as a team. A 1-0 count. Here's the pitch. Up the middle. Base hit. Jay scores. Wong coming around. Throw is late and deflects off the mask of Castillo. On the throw, Carpenter moves up to second. It's now 3-0 St. Louis.
Cardinals doing what they do best. Just keep moving the line with good solid at bats. Pings this single right back through the middle of the box. Castro was playing him that way, but the ball hit too sharply for him to make a play on it.
Boy, good thing Castillo still had his mask on, because that ball took a wicked hop. On Beltran. Well, you hope today does not hold true to form in terms of what we have already seen in this series. Cubs shut out the Cardinals Friday. The Cardinals shut out the Cubs yesterday. So it was the team that scored first. It was the only team that scored. By the way, Daniel Descalzo was about 35-40 feet from home plate when that pitch was delivered.
Yeah, because of the shift, Donnie Murphy well towards the shortstop position. That allows Descalzo all kinds of freedom to come down that third baseline. Obviously, the big advantage is score on a ball in the dirt, but a little unsettling for the pitcher, too.
Driven foul. Two balls and a strike. Just foul. Well, the Cardinals have been hugging that left field line here in this inning. Two doubles, Molina and Jay. And Beltran just missed, knocking in two. Two back of the Pirates in the division and leading the wild card by a game and a half over the Reds. Both teams would make it if the season ended today. Cincinnati trying to avoid a sweep in Milwaukee. Pirates got blasted by the Diamondbacks yesterday.
Now, of the contenders, the Cubs have 6 games left with the Pirates, and 3 left with the Reds, and 3 more with the Cardinals after today. Cubs beginning play today with just 40 games left in the 2013 season, 20 here, 20 on the road.
Jackson ready for his 34th pitch of the inning.
It was right about the time I said, man, does he ever look sharp today, where things started to go downhill here in the second inning. But if the fly ball to center field gets caught, it's a completely different inning. 2 of the runs scored are unearned.
So in keeping with the theme, he's had to make about 5 pitches per batter faced this inning. That's a very high number. Another 3-2, another foul.
Beltran in swing mode, expanding his zone. That fastball well up out of the strike zone, but a couple men in scoring position. He's looking to pick up a couple of ribeyes. He's climbing the ladder on him.
On the ground at Darwin Barney to end the inning. They get 3 and got some help on a bad error in center. 3-0.
Stevic as he continues to rehab that left hamstring injury. 7 games, batting .400 at Mesa, 10 out of 25 as he works his way back to the big leagues. Injury report sponsored by Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. Oh, I just want to say Boint. IBJI, helping you move better so you can live better. Visit IBJI.com or IBG if you prefer.
Yeah, Cubs have a pretty stocked DL, unfortunately, but should get some guys back in the next few weeks and certainly into September as well. Curve on Sherholtz quickly, 0-2. Adam Wainwright trying to become one of just a handful of pitchers to go 6-0 lifetime in this ballpark. Ron Peronoski, Vida Blue, and Bobby J. Jones. The others.
That would be the old Met, Bobby Jones.
Yeah. The right-hander.
Strike thrower.
Has not beaten the Cubs in his last 6 starts. But his last victory against Chicago was here on September 24th, 2010. That ball crushed out in the deep right and not going to go anywhere. Wind blowing in from that direction out of the east at 9 miles an hour.
Six and 6 lifetime against the Cubs here at Wrigley. 10 starts, 5-0 with a .397. Knows what to do when given a lead too. The fact that he doesn't give home runs, doesn't give up home runs, and doesn't walk many. Tough guy to come back on.
Really enjoyed his in-game interview yesterday on the Fox broadcast. Chris Carpenter was spraying him with water throughout. Had kind of a hard time concentrating. I think his quote that they referenced was, "Bad barbecue makes him want to punch somebody."
Yeah.
You can probably understand that, having spent so much time in Texas. Probably had some really good barbecue in your day.
Yeah, and then you get into the whole debate, you know, Texas barbecue versus Carolina barbecue versus Kansas City barbecue. Really, if it's got meat and bones, you can't go wrong, really.
2-2 on the Cubs catcher.
Wainwright in a stretch of 18 consecutive starts, pitching at least 6 innings, allowing 4 runs or less, and in most of those starts far better than those minimums.
His 2-2 is too low. And the umpire's getting a little love today. Or maybe somebody just handed him the hat.
He's got the blue on and the hat. I like it.
Craig over near the tarp. And he leans over and makes a catch. MLB.TV celebrates 11 years. Catch all of the second half action in HD quality. Watch every out-of-market game live on more than 350 mobile and connected devices. Visit MLB.TV today. MLB.TV, baseball everywhere. Here's Donnie Murphy. Wide for ball 1. Now, when you pitched, those caps would have said NL. The leagues were split. Do you think it has been a good change to have them all just work?
Yeah.
And with interleague play, it certainly makes sense.
Yeah, and you still hear people refer to the American League and National League strike zone, and that's poppycock. There are no 2 different strike zones, and there haven't been for a long time. Probably the biggest downside to merging the umpires was the fact that Al Clark, the former American League umpire, was the only guy in baseball who had his name on his hat because it was AL. Al. Hey, there you go. Beard of the day right there. I have a feeling he was churning some butter just a while ago.
On the ground foul.
How quick they are to respond down in the truck. There's Al Clark.
I don't even remember the process now. How did one become an American League versus National League umpire?
I don't know.
Did Al say, I want my name on my hat?
I don't know how that came to be. If guys just worked as minor league umpires and then the leagues hired them out of the minor leagues when they had a need. I'm guessing that's how it happened. Yep. 2 separate league offices.
Cubs hitters working the count here in the second, but to no avail. Castillo's deep at bat ended with a foul out. Now 3-2 on Murphy. And he swings and misses for strike 3. 3-zip Cardinals at the end of 2.
Recognize Grosinger City Autoplex for their support of the Humboldt Park Little League. Grosinger City Autoplex and your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevrolet dealers are supporting over 30,000 young ball players in their communities through the Chevy Youth Baseball Program. Since 2010, the Chicago area Chevy dealers have been providing equipment kits, instructional clinics, and much needed financial support. So once again, from the big leagues to the youth leagues, Chevy is truly the official vehicle of baseball.
Well, the young Cardinal fan has bragging rights here early, but it is early. A couple of unearned runs among the 3 they scored in the second as Matt Holliday breaks his bat on a ground ball to third. He's thrown out easily. The barrel went back to the netting. Uh-oh.
back on. Careful. Game on. It's a classic matchup of power versus speed.
Here's Craig, who struck out to start the second. And he looks at strike one. Jackson still has a shot at a quality start. There's a base hit right over second base. Comes with 72 on the year. They had 73 total last year. Time now for Xfinity Home from Comcast. It was a real struggle for Edwin pitching here early in the season, but that has turned around completely. Get peace of mind with Xfinity Home, the total home security and home control solution that keeps you more connected to what matters most. Molina with a double and a run in the second.
Cubs starting pitching early in the season was really, really good. Has tapered off a bit since then. They've still allowed the fewest runs in the first 3 innings of their games than any staff. Not the case today. The Cardinals put a 3 spot up in the second.
Already in the bottom of the 6th in Pittsburgh, Diamondbacks and Pirates are tied at 2.
Diamondbacks put a hurting on them last night.
15 runs, I think. Yeah. Goldschmidt and Alvarez each hit their 30th in that game. Dodgers leading again. Bottom 5 in Philadelphia 2-1. So the bad news for the Phillies, they're trailing again. The good news is they finally have scored under their new manager, Ryan Sandberg. Got shut out Friday and Saturday. The Dodgers have won 10 in a row and 42 of 50.
Greinke Friday night, Kershaw last night.
Molina pops it up near first. Foul ground, Rizzo for out number 2. They've won 19 of 20 on the road. First team to do that since the 1916 New York Giants. But this 50-game stretch is pretty remarkable. What were they, 9 under 500 when it started?
Yeah, I believe so. Puig's been there for 65 games. Hanley Ramirez 58 coming off the DL. Those are the 2 guys that have really impacted this run by the Dodgers. They got a lot of weapons.
Check that. There were 12 under 500 on June 21st. And now they're 22 over. Inside. 2-1 on Jay.
Edwin Jackson's been pretty easy to run on this year. Base stealers 16 out of 17 with Edwin on the mound. The Cardinals don't run much at all. They're dead last in the league in stolen bases. It's an interesting club because they don't steal a lot of bases. They don't hit a lot of home runs, but they sure score a lot of runs.
Craig the runner at first, 2 outs, and a 3-1 to Jay. It's a strike right down the middle.
You can tell what kind of hitters the Cardinals are when you watch the Cubs defensively. You watch the team play all year, you see how much they like to shift. But against this Cardinal bunch, not as extreme, because the Cardinals are line drive hitters for the most part. They use the whole field, so you see the Cubs deployed much more traditionally against the Cardinals than probably any other team.
Craig goes on the 3-2, and he'll have to head back. Ball 4. We're going to bring up Wong, who reached on the error and later scored in the second.
Cut fastball, not close enough to get Jay to chase. He wins a lengthy battle.
Wong is from Hawaii. Hilo, Hawaii. 22nd overall pick out of the University of Hawaii, 2011.
They're the Rainbows, aren't they?
Sounds right, yep. Cradled by Donnie Murphy to end the inning. They strand 2, still 3-0 St. Louis. (3-0). The Cubs bat here in the last of the third. Castro, Barney, and Jackson. The other part of the equation, a lot of talk about the play yesterday and Starlin's defense. He's hitting .244. As Dale said, it's been a fist fight. The terminology you use, just trying to sort it out in your head. There are some mechanical things Dale has noticed. Hitting coaches have talked to Starlin about. Well, there's just a point where he's just got to figure out those issues, make the changes and move on.
Sometimes as an athlete you have to hit rock bottom before you're able to kind of come to grips with the fact that you've scuffled as significantly as you have. You remember, this is a kid who had a lot of success when he first came to the big league, so the idea that somebody's going to change him overnight, say, wait a minute, this doesn't work, he says, I've got a couple of years of 200+ hits in this game that tells me this does work. So he's got to come to a point where he comes to grips with the need to make some adjustments. And sometimes that only happens in the offseason.
The 1-2 fouled away. A couple of things about that. Dale said today specifically that there are mechanical things going on with Castro's approach that prevent him from squaring up the ball on a regular basis. And then you go back to your point about the success he had early. Ground ball up the middle. Descalzo will not get him. That's his first hit of the homestand. He had been 0 for 16. He gets an infield single. I think the biggest issue, JD, is that he is being pitched differently than he was his first couple of years. There's the magic wand. I mean, he's just got incredible hand-eye coordination. How many guys even make contact on that pitch?
Right, yeah, we could talk about Sandoval and players of that ilk, Vladimir Guerrero, Miguel Tejada.
But they're going after him more often than not with fastballs.
Right, yeah.
And that's what he's had trouble with.
He hasn't been able to pull the trigger and get the head out in front of the good fastball. I think he started to have problems chasing that slider off the plate and maybe got so protective of that he wasn't ready to pull the trigger on the fastball. Or maybe it's just a case of better scouting, awareness by the opposition that with that leg kick he's not in position to get to the fastball a lot of times.
1-1 on Barney. Cardinals at double play depth, which the Cubs generally don't use. Most teams will squeeze the middle. Guys will play a little closer to second and more shallow than normal.
Wainwright's been a pretty good ground ball pitcher over the course of his career.
Jay battling the elements, makes a catch for the out.
Beginning of the school year, it's just around the corner, but still time to bring the family out and enjoy a game here at beautiful Wrigley Field. Still tickets for this homestand. We've got a 4-game set with the Nationals beginning tomorrow. Don't miss your chance to come out and enjoy Cubs baseball. Tickets available at Cubs.com.
One out, and it's the pitcher, Edwin Jackson. Already squaring. And that takes a strike. I mentioned it in the open. Adam Wainwright, this is his 26th start. Through his first 25, he had walked 24 men. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's unbelievably good.
Bunted foul.
6.75 strikeouts for every walk. The best in baseball. To 34 2/3 innings without a walk to start the season.
Two-time All-Star, including this season. Won a Gold Glove in 2009. Good athlete. Close, didn't get it as Jackson pulled the bat back 1-2.
Finished third in the Cy Young in 2009. Finished second in Cy Young voting 2010. Got some very impressive career numbers for the big righty. So he'll probably be a top 5 finish in that award again this year.
Got him on the curve. Jackson turned away, thought it was inside. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Very pleasant afternoon. 72 degrees, breezy. Absolutely perfect. We've said it just about every day this week. Going to warm up a bit in the next few days as the Nationals come in. Jesus rips it foul.
Well, that would have been good enough to get one home if he was able to keep that fair. DeJesus with really good numbers against Wainwright in his career. And how about this? 72 beautiful degrees. Low humidity. Bright sun overhead. Slap on a little sunscreen and go get them.
We'll be out on the Budweiser patio Wednesday night. Cubs and Nats. That'll be a better shot when we're there instead of the Cardinal fans. Nothing personal.
A Ray Lankford fan.
Two and one. Well, the Nationals had a wild one last night. Adam LaRoche hit a game-winning homer to beat the Braves 8-7, but Steven Strasburg ejected in the second inning. They've been throwing at each other all season long. Dan Herron got the save to come out of the starting rotation for an evening.
They go 15 innings?
15. Castro the runner at first. A 2-2 count on DeJesus with 2 outs. Wong will flip to Descalzo at second. Leadoff single, no runs. Still 3-0 Cards after 3.
200 guests for corporate gatherings, family reunions, and bachelor or bachelorette parties. Individual and group tickets are available for all games. For more details, go to WrigleyvilleRooftops.com or call 773-248-ROOF.
Back here at Wrigley Field. Here we are.
Here we are.
In a WGN Sports banner. And the Rainbow Warriors, does that sound right? I don't know. You said Rainbows.
Yeah, they were the. I just looked it up. They were the Rainbow Warriors until 2000, and then they decided to scratch the rainbow and just go straight Warriors.
Got it.
I wanted to seem a little more menacing, I guess.
Okay. One and one on Descalso. Intentional walk in the second.
I'm gathering even more information on this vital story.
Fair ball. And then a two-base hit for St. Louis. Their third of the day.
That was the deal yesterday, too. All extra base hits for the Cardinals in their win. Not a single. They do have a single today. Craig had one, but this is their third double. Carpenter also with a singleton. 3-0 lead off double. They look for more. Okay.
What you got?
Well, this is Wikipedia. Prior to 2000, they were the Rainbow Warriors, and they had a big controversy, and each team could decide whether they would be the Warriors or just the Rainbows or the Rainbow Warriors, and apparently that went on for a time. But beginning this July, all male teams will once more be referred to as the Rainbow Warriors. Okay.
Got it. One strike to Wainwright. Bounce to Murphy. Descalso has to hold at second. And that's the first out. We'll send out happy birthday wishes to Giovanni Santiago. Also shout out to big Cub fan Marilyn Flores here in Chicago. Now, this is a lineup. You got to do your damage as a pitcher at the bottom, because there's no breathing room at the top. So many dangerous hitters in this lineup.
Yeah, and I think we're trying to identify what makes them so good earlier, and the fact that they don't steal a lot of bases, don't hit a lot of home runs. It's just the depth of the lineup. The fact they have so many competent hitters throughout the batting order. We've got 6 guys in the lineup today with 50 or more runs driven in. I'm guessing that's not the case in many lineups around Major League Baseball today.
Cross up maybe? Yeah. I don't think he was expecting a fastball, but he caught it.
Yeah, maybe not a fastball with that kind of running action. He's looking for a cutter or four-seamer. That ball had a lot of movement.
Step out. And a step off, and here comes the catcher out to the mound. While we have a moment at Cubs, proud to once again present Social Media Night in the Budweiser bleachers this Wednesday night. As a part of the Social Media Night special event ticket, you'll get an exclusive Cubs Social Media Night t-shirt and access to a pregame social event featuring Michael Wilbon and Darren Rovell. Raffle prizes include a first pitch before that night's game, autographed memorabilia, and more. Go to Cubs.com/special events for details. Two and two on Carpenter. Cubs will jump out of the division for the next few series. Starting tomorrow night, Nationals here for 4. Then the Cubs go to the West Coast for the last time, play the Padres, Dodgers. Then Ryan Sandberg and the Phillies come in, followed by the Miami Marlins. So we won't see a Central team again until September 6th. Backhanded by Castro, throw to first in plenty of time. Runner at third, 2 outs.
Interesting that Mike Matheny let Adam Wainwright swing away in this inning after the leadoff double by Descalso. Wainwright does swing the bat well, and RBI guys in the top 2 slots in the batting order with Carpenter and Beltran.
Lake and DeJesus get together. Junior makes the catch. As DeJesus is all right, thankfully. They strand a man at third. It's 3-0 St. Louis.
Brought to you by Bud Light Music First. It's the sound of history being made. Here we go.
A lot of boats on the lake. Just a great weekend to be out and about. 3-0 Cardinals as Junior Lake singled in the first inning. Takes a curveball strike here in the 4th. from Georgia. He was drafted by the Braves, 2000, first round. A few years later, December of 03, traded to the Cardinals as Lake strikes out. Ray King went in that deal, Jason Marquis. And the other direction, J.D. Drew and Eli Marrero. He's got his curve working very well today.
It's a strikeout pitch for me. He also gets a fair number of ground balls with that curve ball.
06, his rookie year, he took over as their closer late in the year for the injured Jason Isringhausen. And one of the memorable pitches in that postseason was to his current teammate Carlos Beltran, and it was on a curve to end Game 7 against the New York Mets, and then saved the World Series clincher against Detroit as well. In the hands of Rizzo, and a pop up out in the shallow center. It'll be caught by the shortstop Descalzo. Following year, Wainwright won 14 games, the most ever by a Cardinal in his first season as a starter. 09, he won 19, led the league in innings. 2010, won 20 games. Did not pitch in 2011. The Cardinals won the World Series. He had Tommy John surgery. Came back last year, and then just before this season signed a 5-year contract worth over $97 million.
A pretty big commitment on the part of the Cardinals, signing him through 2018.
Largest deal ever for a Cardinal pitcher. So that is Adam Wainwright's career in a nutshell.
Now I got Austin Powers stuck in my head. So me in a nutshell. So what? He'll be 32 here in 10 days or so. Yeah, late 30s at the end of that deal.
Yeah, I think his stuff, though, and the way he uses it, he should be in pretty good shape if he stays healthy for a while.
Yeah,
that guy's going to just blow away people anyway.
Yeah, he has such good command and such a smart pitcher. He's a guy you could project as still being a very solid starting pitcher, even if the velocity starts to go down a couple of clicks.
I think having spent so much time around, obviously, Dave Duncan, Chris Carpenter, that doesn't hurt either. And he began his career in the Braves organization.
Yeah, they know a thing or two about pitching over there.
Called strike 3. His 5th punch out, and through 4, shutting out the Cubs on 2 hits. Get your Topps baseball card set Friday, August 30th. Come out to Wrigley, watch the Cubs host Ryne Sandberg's Phillies at 1:20. First 10,000 fans get the fourth and final set of the exclusive limited edition Topps baseball cards, compliments of Topps. For more information or to purchase tickets, go to Cubs.com. 3-zip Cardinals.
You get your baseball cards. Good for flipping, trading, clipping to the spokes of your bicycle.
I didn't trade a lot of baseball cards. I collected them.
I wonder if kids now, savvy kids, trade like veteran cards for prospect cards.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'll give you three prospects for that aging veteran.
Oh, what a play by Barney. That ball was scalded. He's got to bounce the throw, but gets Holiday. That's a Gold Glove play right there. One away.
He was cheating that way with Holiday up, but this ball so sharply hit, very little time to react. And Barney pounces on it and from his knees gets it on over there to Rizzo to complete the play. Even after the play, he's staying to Rizzo. My bad. Should have gotten it to you there on one hop.
Low and outside on Craig. Cardinals will bus up to Milwaukee for a 3-game series against the Brewers starting tomorrow. Three balls, no strikes. Ball 4. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. So we probably make too much out of strength of schedule, over 162. By and large, it doesn't make probably that big a difference, and I think they've done a better job with expanded interleague play of having most teams play similar schedules in a division. The rivalry series now are only 4, not 6 games. But having said that, this is kind of an important stretch, I think, for the Cardinals. These 3 against the Cubs and then in Milwaukee. They head home on Thursday. They play 4 against the powerhouse Braves, 3 against Cincinnati. Then they go to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati before hosting the Pirates. So if you believe in that strength of schedule, their schedule gets a lot tougher coming up in a few days. And, playoff teams generally, JD, beat teams they should beat. And, if you go 500 or a little less against the really good teams, you're still in good shape.
Yeah, a lot depends on the pitching matchups you happen to fall into. The Cardinals have to feel good that they'll get their cracks at the Pirates between now and the end of the year. Pirates have a pretty robust schedule remaining as well. know they've got a trip to Texas coming up to play the Rangers.
After playing Arizona today, they head out west to play the Padres and the Giants. That's a 7-game trip. Two and one the count.
Well, Cub players are going to have a first-hand look at it.
And we will see the Cardinals to finish the season in St. Louis.
In the previous road trip, they start in Cincinnati, and then they have a 4-game set with the Pirates before moving on to Milwaukee. It's about this time of year you hear talk about being a spoiler, and I don't know that. I mean, I think it's just more talk than anything. I know when I was playing, when my team was out of the race, I didn't really care a whole lot who won. I wasn't trying to spoil. You know, you're always trying to win. Your motivation is always to win, and it's fun to play games against teams that are in the race. There's a little something extra as opposed to two teams just playing out the string in September.
Hits a foul pop over near his dugout. Rizzo reaches on top of the dugout and makes a catch. Can't say I've seen that here at Wrigley Field. The glove actually on top of the dugout. What a play.
Yeah, had to use every bit of his reach and great concentration. After hitting the barrier, hang on and lay out. And at the last there, somebody from the Cardinals prevented him from going headlong into the dugout. Great play.
If he had, by the way, fallen into the dugout, Alan Craig would have been given second base. But he was able to stay in play. Fastball strike to Jay. Topper to the second baseman Barney. Two excellent defensive plays in this inning. Cardinals off the board, but they lead 3-0. in Australia. Throwing a baseball at bowling pins. And he picks up the split. Are you kidding me? The 7-10? I don't know.
I'm not sure I'm buying it.
Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible.
There's so many of those hoaxes out there, those doctored videos. I've become a cynic, but if it's legit, that's awfully sweet. Wow.
Did Phil Cussy just have a few words for somebody in the Cubs dugout?
Oh, I was watching the bowling.
0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
He's showing a little bit of a tendency to call the pitches off the plate this afternoon, and probably some growing frustration in the Cub dugout. Been able to make a lot of solid contact off of Wainwright. It's a tough tandem to beat, Wainwright and Molina. Molina so smart behind the plate, and Wainwright so good at executing the game plan.
Murphy has been the Cubs' best offensive player here the last couple of weeks. And he grounds out and is 0 for 2 today. 2 quick ones. We'll bring up Castro.
I've seen Adam Wainwright pitch a lot of games just like this one over the years. In the rocking chair. Quick outs, quick innings. Bunch of fastballs at about knee high.
Curve for a strike. Are you ready for the return of the beard?
What do we got?
Sounds like Brian Wilson's going to join the Dodger roster here shortly. Coming back from Tommy John surgery. 1-2 to Castro. Pokes that one foul.
They're not going to use him as a closer, I'm guessing, right? The big guy Jensen's been really good.
You referenced Kung Fu Panda earlier. I guess he's lost 22 pounds over the last month and a half. His brother, Luis, recently graduated from culinary school, helping him out in that regard. 3-0 Cardinals. get along. Hasn't been easy. Sometimes walking away from a fight is not a bad idea. As long as they're smiling.
There you go. Smack talk there. Ooh, earful.
That would get to
That's problematic. Did two.
Knock
Did
it
not.
off, she says.
Knock it off. Coexist.
Strike one on Colton Wong, who has reached on an error, scored a run, and lined to third. Swung on and missed. 2 strikes. A Junior Lake error looming large. Could be 1-0 instead of 3. Descalso and Wainwright to follow. Here it comes. He held. Max Scherzer 18-1.
Wow.
Beat Bruce Chen today. Tigers 6-3. A winner. Miguel Cabrera homered again. Number 40. Hit a game ender to right last night.
The one-loss record certainly overrated in terms of evaluating starting pitchers, but 18-1 gets your attention. You don't get to be 18-1 without a whole lot of other things going well.
Okay, here's some numbers from stats. Scherzer has joined Roger Clemens, 2 pitchers since 1919 to have 18 wins in their first 19 decisions. Clemens did it in 01, and he went 20-3 with the Yankees. Lake catches this one. Cabrera is the 3rd player since 1921, joining Babe Ruth and Jimmy Fox, to hit at least 40 homers, knock in 120, and hit 350 or better through the first 116 games.
Is it possible he'll put up better numbers this year than he did in his Triple Crown year?
I think now they know they've been on TV all day. They'll be a little nicer now. Oh, he's going to sit in the middle. You're going to separate these two?
You got a screen grab.
He doesn't want to stop now.
Wait a minute. I'm not done getting my revenge. You're out.
Two and one. The funny thing is, I mean, these kids are what? I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years old. Looks like a lot of broadcast booths in baseball behind the scenes. Three and one. Foul. 3 and 2. They're in the 9th in Pittsburgh. The Pirates will bat in the home half in a 2-2 tie with the Diamondbacks. Phillies have tied the Dodgers. They're 2-2 in the 8th. Foul tip, strike 3. Now the Cubs' forward upcoming game schedule. The Nationals come in. It's a 4-game series. We'll give you the first 3 all-night games, and we're in the Budweiser patio on Wednesday night here on WGN. Got pitching matchups for you here in a second. Ford, go further in any one of Ford's many fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Good one tomorrow night. All-star Jordan Zimmerman against Jeff Samardzija. Dan Herron scheduled for Tuesday night against Chris Russin. We mentioned Herron got the save last night. Ross Ohlendorf, Jake Arrieta on Wednesday, and Steven Strasburg and Travis Wood on WGN Thursday afternoon. So Davey Johnson will not manage the Nationals next year. It's already been arranged that this will be his final year as a Nationals manager. Mike Rizzo has not tipped his hand in terms of who we might see next in that chair, although Charlie Manuel is now available.
Knows the division well.
He does. Jason Worth has sung his praises.
I don't mind, did he swing or not? Pitch had to be right there.
The question for Mike Rizzo, does he want to hire somebody like Dale Swaim and let that manager grow into the job, look at it long term, or do you say we've got a window right here, we've got young players, but we want to get back to where we were last year and go with the tried and true manager who's done it before?
Yeah, or is there a guy that they've identified that even though he doesn't have a lot of experience, they feel like he's the right guy for the job, because they're clearly in go for it mode.
And then the other question is, would they for any reason reconsider and bring back Davey? Based on their record, the answer would probably seem to be no. Well, I know they have a good relationship there, so we'll see.
A good relationship that has been stressed at times this year.
They've said publicly a lot, though, that's kind of how they roll. You know, Davey doesn't mind a good argument now and again.
There's nothing wrong with a little creative tension.
Yeah.
You need a little push and pull.
Floated into center for a 2-out hit.
If everybody leans to the same side of the boat tips over.
Good analogy.
Good long at bat by Wainwright. Didn't hit it all that well, but a 2-out knock.
Carpenter drove in 2 with a single in the second. Squares to bunt, but takes that pitch in the dirt.
If they stay in house, Randy Nord might be a candidate for bench coach.
Yeah. I've heard Bo Porter, although he just started his tenure in Houston. former Nationals coach. Carlos Villanueva's up in the Cubs bullpen. Those types of situations, JD, I think are toughest on the coaching staff.
Because I don't know if they're going to have a job next year.
For the most part, guys are tied to the manager. And we'll talk more about it when they come in. But Rick Eckstein got fired earlier this year, and it was totally Mike Rizzo's decision. And he and Davey Johnson both basically said Davey didn't want it to happen. So Rick Shue is their new hitting coach, brought up from the minor leagues, but all the other coaches, they're going to be in limbo. Don't get paid a lot for the most part. You work a lot of extra hours before and after the game, and if the manager quits or gets fired, you're probably going to go too. That's what they sign up for.
That's why they tend to rent and not buy. And most coaches don't live in the city where they coach. Here for the season and back to their permanent home.
I give Dave McKay a lot of credit. He was obviously with Tony La Russa for a long time, but in St. Louis he was entrenched. He had the opportunity to come back and be on Mike Matheny's staff, but I think he just wanted to try something different. And certainly the Cubs have benefited from him coming to Chicago. And I think he knew what he was getting into in terms of a somewhat of a rebuilding program, and wants to be a part of this thing for the long term. Carpenter walks, so all of a sudden this 2-out rally extending the inning for Jackson. Wainwright single, Carpenter's walk, and now Spazio on the phone checking on Villanueva.
And base runners in every inning for the Cardinals except for the first, so a lot of traffic. Just the one earned run allowed by Jackson so far today of the 3. Adam Wainwright is pitching. Very difficult situation. Cannot allow the Cardinals to get further ahead.
A fly ball to center. Lake under it, and the inning is over. Cardinals strand 2. They lead by 3 here in the 6th.
Cardinals so far this afternoon, 3 zip. Cubs managing just 2 hits, both infield hits off of Adam Wainwright. We're talking about pitches per plate appearance today on Stats Sunday. You see the Cardinals and the Cubs this afternoon very similar in terms of pitches seen, but you kind of draw the line in terms of the similarities, and maybe the Cubs would benefit from being a little bit more aggressive. A guy like Wainwright out there on the mound to throw so many strikes. The problem is he's been very unpredictable. Sometimes it's a cutter, sometimes it's a sinker, sometimes it's that first pitch curveball that he's been able to get over.
Jackson will be done after 6. It was a quality start, so the Cubs matching last year's total and basically 40 fewer games.
Yeah. First strike pitch percentage well above average today for Wainwright.
Logan Watkins will hit for Jackson after Barney. Here's the 0-1. It's a strike 0-2.
Oh my.
1-2. Tough take.
Perfect, yeah. Sure is.
New life for Darwin Barney. He knew he was going to have to swing at anything close. Jay will come in and make the grab for the out.
There have been 2 or 3 balls out of the infield today by Cubs hitters.
So the rookie Watkins with the veteran Villanueva getting ready for the 7th.
What is in my phone?
Jackson threw 117 pitches in his 6 innings, faced a ton of batters, 29 in all. Gave up 6 hits, walked 4. Only 1 of the 3 runs was earned. Wainwright's 0-2. Went with a curve. It missed. 1-2. Brian Bogusevic is now in Iowa. So continues to come back from the hamstring injury. Pop up. Caught by Wong in shallow right. Don't miss the action as the Cubs host the Phillies here at Wrigley Field Saturday, August 31st at 3:05. The first 10,000 fans get an exclusive limited edition Anthony Rizzo bobblehead. For more information or to purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com. Not a bad likeness, although I think in real life Anthony has broader shoulders than the bobblehead. He is a large man.
He is a big man. Like a tight end.
The only 2 hits for the Cubs have been infield singles, Lake and Castro, in the 1st and 3rd respectively. That's been it.
Lake's a little slow roller. Descalso had a hard time getting out of his glove. Castro sharply hit ground ball up the middle that Descalso was able to glove, but couldn't throw him out. Almost had a headline there. Wainwright was behind in the count 2-0. We talk so much about the ability to throw something other than a fastball and a fastball count, but a perfectly placed fastball works pretty well too. David now 4 out of 20 on the homestand. Time a four-seamer at 93 miles an hour. Hits corners, slows you down with the curveball, and then comes with that good Swifty, and it's hard to get the head out in front of it.
Another 2-2. Full now 3-2. We're going to go to extras in Pittsburgh, 2-2. And in the bottom of the ninth now, Tampa Bay, Blue Jays, and Rays 1-1. Longoria is 24th. That came in the first. Encarnacion is 31st to tie it in the seventh. Ball 4.
There's your headline.
Walk per start. A little less than that. 26 starts, 25th walk for Adam Wainwright. Looks like the Reds are going to avoid the sweep, leading at Milwaukee 9-1 in the bottom of the sixth. Homer Bailey on the mound for Cincy today. Ball driven out toward the gap. It's going to go to the wall. DeJesus around third. He will score without a throw. It's 3-1. Junior Lake with an RBI double.
And finally something for these Cub fans to cheer about this afternoon. 2 outs, nobody on. DeJesus battles hard, works a walk. Junior Lake jumps all over it. That's today's drive to victory. Brought to you by your local Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Mazda dealers. Cubs finally on the board.
And the tying run will come up. It's Rizzo. And actually, the Reds did win Thursday. Forgot they beat the Brewers 2-1. So a win today would be a series split. After Milwaukee won games 2 and 3. And again, the Reds leading big 9-1. High for a ball. First extra base hit for the Cubs today, that double. High strike that time. So the Cardinals hitting 200 with runners in scoring position, but they've had 10 chances. And after this at bat, assuming Rizzo puts something in play, it'll be the 1,000 or 0 for the Cubs.
Good job by Edwin Jackson hanging in there, keeping this game close and giving his club a chance to make a late comeback. Wainwright has not had to make many pitches from the stretch today. A little out of sync with that delivery.
Just got a piece of it. Wainwright trying to improve to 6-0 lifetime at Wrigley Field. Is 2-2 called strike 3. Rizzo frozen to end the inning. They do get on the board on the late double. It's 3-1. Fan cam.
The heart is a balloon, shoots up through the stony ground, but there's no room, no space to rent in this town. You're out of luck, and the reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck, and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place, someone you could lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful day. Sky falls, you feel like it's a beautiful day.
Young band called U2. I think they've got a bright future. Cubs baseball brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Here's Carlos Villanueva. The Cubs trailing by 2. Bump from the rotation. As Jake Arrieta has come up from AAA Iowa, and that ball is stabbed by Castro. Holiday is 0 for 4, but he has hit 2 balls as hard as you can hit them for outs. Oh, my goodness.
It's a big time hang with him for Matt Holliday today. I don't know if he's ever had a better day and a worse day all at once, taking an 0-4, but really stinging the ball. The last 2 times in particular, it's a bat in the 30 hit the ball hard too to third base, but the last 2 times just rockets. Barney robbed him, and now Castro.
1 out. Here's Craig, who's singled, walked, and struck out. Conducting the stretch today, Hospital Corpsman Senior Chief Roger Buck, native of Pekin, Illinois. Great to have him here. The United States Navy, serving at Great Lakes Naval Station. 20-year military career. We're excited to have him. James Russell up in the bullpen. (2-0) is up and in. It's 3 balls, no strikes on Alan Craig. Molina on deck.
Matt Holliday said, "What did I do to deserve this today?" He's kind of going back through his mind. Did I fail to tip somebody?
Ball 4. My guess is it's easier for a guy like Holliday, who's been around a long time, to deal with a day like this than if he were a young player. I'm sure he's had some blue pits that he probably felt he didn't deserve.
Yeah, what the hitters will tell you, it's all about the process. You hit the ball hard, and that's what the hitting coach will say, and that's what his teammates will say, and you go, yeah, but inside you're steaming. I deserve better.
Breaking ball strike to Yadier Molina. Of course, right in the middle of their 3-run rally in the second, that 1-out double got it started.
Molina's bounced into 9 double plays this year. Not a big number for a guy who puts the ball in play as often as he does.
Hitting coach John Mabry. Swung on and missed. It's 1-2.
Molina very good at going the other way, and that seemed to be his intent with that swing.
Villanueva with a 366 as a reliever, 450 as a starter. 18th relief appearance. He's made 15 starts. Had the helmet nachos followed up with the small helmet of ice cream.
Recommend you wash that before you wear it.
Full count, 3-2.
A little atypical here. We showed you early in the ball game the numbers on Molina near the bottom of the league in terms of pitches seen per plate appearance.
Craig runs on the 3-2, and this one's shot foul.
Matheny wants to stay out of the double play. He starts Alan Craig. Molina, again, he's more of a fly ball than a ground ball hitter. He gets the ball in the air, especially when he takes that off-field approach, keeps the hands in. Much more likely to hit the ball in the air.
And he drills that one out into right center, right where Barney would have been, but Darwin went to cover the bag. Molina trying for 2, and he's got a double.
Well, tough go of it here for Carlos Villanueva in the 7th. Luckily for him, the holiday ball that was scalded was hauled in by Castro. And Barney cuts that ball thinking there might be a play at home. Craig had been given the stop sign. I don't know if the ball was on line to go through to the bag and have a shot at Molina or not. I don't believe so.
Bunch of lefties due up. So James Russell will come on to face them. 3-1 St. Louis. Cardinals leading by 2 and threatening to get some more. 2nd and 3rd with only 1 out.
And Jay Wong, Descalso, all left-handed batters do. We'll see how Mike Matheny chooses to play it. Also, a real good stretch here of late. And overall having another outstanding year.
Well, that's the other benefit of having Wong here on the roster and in the lineup today is he's got David Freese in his back pocket if he wants to use him. But does not need to show his hand just yet. No action in the Cubs pen with Russell now in the game. Cubs will bring their infield in. Craig at 3rd, Molina at 2nd. Here we go. In the dirt on a slider. I mentioned Molina hits a lot of fly balls. John Jay the opposite. He hits a ton of ground balls. Ground ball percentage of 70.5% in his career. Swings and misses on a slider, 1-1. In the air, of course. We just talked about ground balls. A 3-run homer to the opposite field off the lefty. His 24th career home run and his 502nd career game.
The slider that Russell likes to go to, and Jay was ready for it. He's trying to lift the ball. Not only does he do that, but he lifts it right out of the ballpark.
All of a sudden, it's 6-1 St. Louis.
Pretty good response by the Cardinals.
So for John Jay in his career, that is only his 3rd home run against a lefty. He has slugged .339 lifetime against southpaws. So what you just saw has not happened very often.
And that's the first time it's happened all year to James Russell. That's the first home run he's allowed to a left-handed batter. Cubs get one, start to feel like they're getting back into it, and boom, 3-spot.
Scherholtz with the catch. 2 down. 2 of those runs charged to Villanueva. Inside to Descalso. Yeah, you sometimes forget about guys like John Jay. He's knocked in 4 runs today, 54 RBIs on the year.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. The length, the depth of their lineup. Quality hitters, top to bottom.
Fouled off the front foot. Swing and a miss. Strike 3, inning over. Time for the 7th inning stretch.
His conductor for taking out to the ball game, Navy Senior Chief Roger Buck.
All right, Chicago, let's do this loud and proud for Harry Carey. All right, Cubs fans, let me hear you. Oh, 1. Chicago, let's get some runs.
Looking down at the bleachers from atop the scoreboard. 6-1 Cardinals. Big 3-run homer by John Jay to stretch their lead, and Adam Wainwright has been in command throughout. Congrats to Ryne Sandberg. He's got his first big league win as a manager. 3-2 as the Phillies end the Dodgers' 10-game winning streak. It was an error by Hanley Ramirez in the bottom of the ninth that allowed Casper Wells to score the winning run. Can the Dodgers recover? Pulled into right past a diving Colton Wong.
Well, the outlook is bleak right now for the Cubs, but we just got to keep having good ABs. See what happens. Wainwright's been really good. Bullpen pretty well rested. Rosenthal hasn't worked in a couple of days. Neither has Mujica.
Castillo takes a strike.
Pirates and D-backs are still tied 2-2, bottom of the 11th in Pittsburgh.
Orioles lead the Rockies 7-2 in the bottom of the 8th at Camden Yards. Chris Davis has hit his 45th. Adam Jones his 25th. And a ground ball into right. Back-to-back singles here in the bottom of the 7th. We'll bring up Donnie Murphy.
Not a bad guy to have coming up. He's really been swinging the bat well since coming to the big leagues. Castillo's been swinging it well lately too.
The Sunday night game has CC Sabathia against former Cub Ryan Dempster, Yanks and Red Sox from Fenway. Game starts at what, 7:08 or so Chicago time, something like that.
I think so.
Over under on
midnight.
You're going 5 hours tonight?
They might play 10 innings.
Donnie Murphy's been terrific. The Rays just beat the Blue Jays 2-1 in 10. Jose Lobaton with a game-ending home run.
Ooh, did he? I don't know. Didn't look like much of a swing.
The guys get aggravated when the home plate umpire makes that call without checking.
Yeah, we'll get another look at it here. I mean, pretty aggressive start, but man, no way is that a swing.
Cuzzy is really jawing with
Dale and Jamie Quirk. Getting after him pretty good, and rightfully so. Cuzzy missed that one.
There goes Dale. Here comes Dale.
Yeah, why not ask for help? How can you take that yourself?
And Tom Hallion over near the Cubs dugout. David Bell running some interference. Try to keep everybody else in the ball game.
sure one of the points Dale's making is, look, as good as Wainwright has been this afternoon, he doesn't need any help, and you probably did need a little bit on that call.
Well, it was a terrible call. I don't understand why and how the home plate umpire, even if he went around, even if our replay showed clearly he went, why wouldn't you ask it first?
Yeah, I just think it's a reaction play. I mean, like I said, he was kind of an aggressive load, and he started aggressively, but clearly was able to check.
Wow, I mean,
just his instincts let him down there. He'll see the replay of this later on and realize he missed the call.
Am I overstating it, saying that's like the worst check swing call I've ever seen? I mean, the barrel moved 3 inches. Strike on Castro, and the crowd really letting Phil Cuzzy have it. Oh, 2. Foul tip, strike 3, 2 down. I know Dale's going to go back and look at the video, but for his blood pressure's sake, he probably shouldn't, because I don't think it's going to make him feel any better.
No, tempted to run back out of the dugout and make his point all over again, and that would not be good.
That's 10 strikeouts for Wainwright. Nothing but strikes since the ejection. And nothing but boos from the crowd.
Borderline high that time.
Wainwright's season high 12 was against Milwaukee back in April. And that's his career high. I'm assuming that would be subject to replay down the road.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to be real careful about checked swings because they're not outs or hits or whatever. But that might have been one Dale would have thrown the flag or whatever the challenge system will be.
Among the many things that Molina does well.
Innings started with back-to-back singles. And Murphy, it's rung up by Phil Cuzzy. The manager gets ejected. Castro then strikes out, and a 1-2 to Barney. He fans as well. 6-1, Cardinals after 7. Trail 6-1.
Third man out of the pen today after Jackson, Villanueva, and then Russell.
There's some question as to whether or not somebody else got kicked out. Those arguments were going on in the bottom of the 7th. The only one I know for sure is Dale. But there was certainly a lot of jawing coming from the Cubs dugout, directed at Phil Cuzzy. Shane Robinson just came off the DL, will bat for Wainwright.
Bowden pitched a scoreless inning yesterday. No hits, no walks, had a strikeout through just 12 pitches. He'd been off the 2 days prior, so he's good to go.
Robinson activated on Thursday. Had a right shoulder strain. 3 for 10 in the pinch.
That strikeout to walk ratio for Adam Wainwright, which was a major league best 6.75 punch outs per walk, gets even better with 11 strikeouts today, 1 freebie in 7 Sterling innings.
He threw fewer than 4 balls per inning. 27 in 7 innings of work. Hard throwing Kevin Segrist. Split loyalties. He's a Cubs fan.
Loves the Cubs. Cubs. He'll get his chance. Final homestand of the year. The Braves are in for 3. He'll be a mess. He won't sleep.
Okay, Leo Mazzoni and Gorman Thomas. Kind of in the middle.
There we go.
The look-alike chart.
Be a little better if he were rocking back and forth. How are our feuding youngsters doing out there? They still getting after each other?
I think no news is good news. The Cardinal fan now has a Cubs helmet. It's got cheese in it, but
there's a lunchbox giveaway today. Getting ready to go back to school.
Wake drifting over toward right center. 1 away. They're all tuckered out. Go 4-3 to get Carpenter. 2 down here in the Cardinal 8th. Beltran. Can one be tuckered out, or do you have to be plumb?
Plumb tuckered out.
Strike call. 1-1. So I got to be honest, I think I would be pretty tired if I were sitting in the bleachers in the sun today and trying to focus, watch a baseball game, take it all in, and dodging slaps and elbows and
that's a good busy day out there.
Ear flicks. Lined to Castro to end the inning. Bowden goes 1-2-3. Bottom of the 8th coming up. 6-1 St. Louis. Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. From shutouts to walk-offs, we've been celebrating the greatest moments in Major League Baseball for over 30 years. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. Honda. Visit your local Honda dealer or go to shophonda.com for current offers. And by AT&T. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible. New pitcher and new hitter. Kevin Segrist is the pitcher, and the hitter is Cole Gillespie.
Yeah, pretty impressive numbers put up by the young left-hander. ERA of 0.78 for 25 appearances, a mid-90s fastball. Slider and change, but rely heavily on that good gas. Cubs saw him twice last weekend in St. Louis. A couple of scoreless outings.
Quickly 1-2. Adam Wainwright was terrific. 7 innings, 1 run. JD mentioned 11 fanned and only 1 walk. Gillespie, the 12th Cub to strike out today.
And 4th in a row. Tough assignment coming off the bench, facing this hard throwing lefty. It's Cole Gillespie, 1 out of 7 in the the pinch this year.
Ball one to DeJesus. Miami beat the Giants. Jeff Mathis, game-winning RBI double in the 8th. 6-5 the final. So the Fish avoid the sweep. Bottom 12, Diamondbacks, Pirates still tied at 2.
Make or break time for the Diamondbacks. They got a big series with the Reds coming up next. They'll enter it with a tired bullpen. Diamondbacks 5 games behind Cincinnati for the second wild card spot. Beginning play today.
Well, they were in first in their division for a long time before the Dodgers got hot. Right now 8 back even after the Dodger loss. Life is good. Ball 4. That's a leadoff walk. Second time DeJesus has reached on a free pass. First time he ended up scoring on a double by the next guy, Junior Lake.
Well, nothing doing in the Cardinal bullpen now because after Lake it's Rizzo Shearholtz. So I think he had every intention of sticking with his left-hander. With his 5-run lead, he's got a little wiggle room.
So a leadoff walk, a 1-out walk for David. And the pitch to Lake is in there at the knees.
Now Seth Maness, the ground ball expert, starts to get ready.
Bangs that one off the mask of Molina. It made a loud noise. Can you tell me about L.J. Hose?
L.J. Hose was the player the Astros acquired from Baltimore in the Bud Norris deal, I believe.
Okay.
One of the players.
Well, he's hit a home run today. Astros and Angels 3-3 in the 5th. That will drop for a base hit. It'll send DeJesus to third. Lake 3 out of 4 today. That big error defensively earlier, but trying to make up for it with his bat.
I was seeing the good and bad from Junior Lake today. The error, a little confusion at times in the outfield, but he's very new to the outfield, so there's bound to be some growing pains, but nice to see him having a good day at the plate.
That home run for Hose, the first of his major league career. First and third, one out. And the pitch to Anthony Rizzo is a strike. The White Sox just beat the Twins, so they win 3 out of 4 in that series, 5-2 the final. Addison Reed with his 31st save. Hector Santiago got the win. We believe, by the way, James Russell was also ejected in the bottom of the 7th. And a 1-1. Fly ball shallow left. Holiday will make the catch. De Jesus on his way to the plate. The throw there. Out.
Probably shouldn't have risked it.
Matt Holiday nails De Jesus. Down 5 to throw out the plate. We'll go to the 9th, 6-1. Strike to Molina to get De Jesus.
And De Jesus arguing with the call by Phil Cuzzy at home plate. Tries to take evasive action inside the baseline. Molina reaching out, coming back, and I don't know that David ever got to the plate. I'm not sure that Molina ever tagged him either. I mean, there's a whole lot of what ifs going on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with replay. Looking ahead to next year, we don't know if we ever got a good enough look.
Right. So, and if that were the case, you would just have to
stick with the call.
Whatever the call on the field stands. And again, though, the key there is he probably shouldn't be trying to score on that ball. Down 5 runs. Cubs have not been winning a lot lately. Not many opportunities for Kevin Gregg, so he'll come in, just get an inning of work here this afternoon.
On a hop. And Matt Holiday, the last 3 at bats, he just cannot buy a break. 0 for 5.
Keeps hitting it hard, but right at people. I guarantee you he didn't tip the hotel maid today. Nice pick. Donnie Baseball gathers himself plenty of time.
there, we think, is the tag, but was the foot on the other foot on the plate? We'll maybe never know. One and one to Craig. It's Greg against Craig. That is Trevor Rosenthal. He throws hard too.
We've seen him reach triple digits.
Broken back roller to Murphy. Molina has doubled twice and scored both times. The other two at bats he's fouled out to Anthony Rizzo. Ground ball, Barney to his glove side, and the closer getting an inning here today with a perfect 1-2-3. Bottom 9, 6-1. Player of the game. A win today would improve Adam Wainwright's career mark to 6-0 here at Wrigley Field. Cubs baseball brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Rubber game today. Cardinals top the wild card standings, still would like to win their division. Segrist will get Scherholtz, and then it looks like Mike Matheny will make a move for Rosenthal, who's ready in the bullpen. 2-1. Nationals will come to town 15.5 games out of first place, and they're in second in the East. They would also be 9.5 behind in the wild card race. Huge disappointment in the National League East. Swing and a miss. Segrist comes back and strikes out Sherholtz. Here comes Mike Matheny. One out in the bottom of the ninth. Here comes Rosenthal. We'll be back. Bottom of the ninth, nobody on. Cardinals leading 6-1.
High octane fastball. That one clocked at 95. He averages about 97 miles an hour with his heater. Has a good changeup and occasional curveball and cutter.
Held off by Castillo. Quickly 0-2.
Cubs got to him last weekend. He suffered a loss. Allowed 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning.
A shout out to Sam Johnston, big Cub fan in Ottawa.
So he's out and about today?
Well, the question is, it's a she. Is she in Ottawa, Illinois, or Ottawa, Ontario?
Ottawa, Kansas, or who knows?
Called strike 3, 2 outs. 14 strikeouts for Cardinal pitching today.
Yeah, a lot of red ink on the scorecard this afternoon.
5 of those pitches in the box. Here's Murphy.
Here's the thing about Wainwright today. He made a lot of pitches in that box, but a lot of times they are right on the edges.
Looks like we have a happy ending. Ultimately, they're buds. They're going to leave the ballpark together. I wasn't so sure when we started.
We'll get them next time. Still got it going.
Three and two with 2 outs. Castro on deck. The pitch. Low for ball 4.
Well, for what it's worth, that was a pretty good take right there by Donnie Murphy. Got a guy who throws 100 miles an hour. 3-2, 2 outs in the 9th. You figure he's going to come with a fastball, but he saw and recognized changeup early and was able to lay off.
If he will take second without a throw, will not be given a steal. Two and 0 on Starlin Castro. The pitch outside. Barney on deck. Back-to-back 2-out walks. Will not make Matheny too happy. He'll have to think about getting his closer up at some point. Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach, will head out. Well, the offenses have completely shut down in Pittsburgh. Diamondbacks got 2 to tie it in the top of the 6th. Nobody has scored since. They're now in the 14th. 2-2.
Getaway day, of course. And the Reds, an easy winner today over the Brewers, 9-1.
So the top 3 teams all have at least 70 wins in the division.
And Homer Bailey, 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 run today, struck out 8.
The 1-0 to Barney. Well, Rosenthal cannot find the strike zone all of a sudden. Got 7 straight bad ones.
And Barney will be taking all the way here.
2-1.
Mujica not up yet, but if Barney were to reach, I suspect he would start to throw and just caught the inside edge.
Three and 1.
He does have a high walk rate. Get a strike, keep the line moving.
The 3-2 to Barney, fouls back.
Well, indeed, Rosenthal does not have a high walk rate, not this year. Under 6%. Pretty good, especially for a power guy. That would have been one.
Another 3-2, another foul.
Hard not to be anxious in this situation. 2 outs in the ninth, 3-2 count. Don't want to get rung up looking, and you got to be ready to hit when a guy throws this hard. But the last 2 have been out of the zone. Last 3.
Well, remember, Barney, that big 2-run double off Rosenthal a week ago Saturday. Cubs winning 6-5 in St. Louis. And a heck of a battle here today. Shallow right center. John Jay will make the running grab, and the Cardinals take 2 of 3. Couple of 2-out walks, but they strand 2 in the ninth. The final, the Cardinals 6, the Cubs 1. We'll be back.